Friends, normally watching the LA Marathon is completely boring. Anything unlike watching the Dodgers. But this last LA Marathon, if you watched it, anything but boring. It was the most thrilling end to the marathon ever seen before. The recap. Michael from Kenya is leading the entire race, and he's about 0.2 miles getting close to the finish line. He could see the finish line. And he's running and he's exhausted and he sees the finish line, but he keeps looking back. Who is his nearest competitor? And he senses it. And as he's getting closer, within maybe 100 yards of the finish line, he keeps looking back. Nathan, the unrecognized, the unexpected competitor, not on anyone's radar, something inside of him, working through all the pain and everything, he sees the finish line. And he sees Michael right in front of him. If you haven't seen it, look at it on YouTube. It comes down to the final step. A half a step. Nathan passes Michael at the finish line, 0.08 seconds. And he wins the marathon. Both extraordinary athletes. And as Michael running to the finish line, I think it's a powerful metaphor for our own life. Every single one of us here are running the race we call life. Some of us in the some, not me, in the very beginning of the race, the middle of race, whatever mile you are on in your life. Michael was near the finish line, but he kept looking back. How many times in our race of life, how much time do we spend, myself, all of us, looking back? Looking back at maybe our past faults, our past sins, maybe preoccupied with who's our nearest competitor, maybe looking back at some of the guilt or whatever it is in our life, and we take our eyes on the most important prize. The finish line is not a race. It's not for a medal or a paycheck. The finish line you and I are competing for is eternal. It's the one that Jesus promises each one of us. And I think in our Lenten journey and just the journey of life, maybe we can all reflect how much time, energy, spiritual exertion do we spend in the past? Nathan kept his eyes focused on the prize. And through exhaustion and pain, 26.2 miles, someone that wasn't expected to win, there was a voice deep within. Keep your eye on the goal. And somehow he got that whole energy to be able to pass at the last minute to win the race. Friends, the question for all of us sitting here today, which race are we running? Are we keeping our eyes fixed on the spiritual prize that is heaven? The spiritual prize that is deep within ourselves, that God has planted that spark, that divine, that racing goal in life. Are we pursuing that? Are we pursuing what is, as Paul says, three things I think could be our guideposts along the race. To know that we are pursuing what God has put into our life. Lots of distractions. Lots of reasons to say, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm hurting, I'm limping. It'd be so easy just to call it quits. to look to the past behavior. My dear friends, Paul says the light of Christ that sometimes is deep within our soul and our heart, it's hard to see. 3 guideposts we can ask ourselves when we're running this race. Is it good? Is it right? And is it true? Is what we are doing in life, is it for the good of those we love? Is it good for the community of God, for this country, for this world? And what are we doing in life? Is it the right thing to do? Not what's expedient, not what is on the surface, not always what feels good. Nathan was hurting, but he kept his eyes on the spiritual goal of crossing the finish line. And most importantly, the third sign we can ask ourselves in these moments, is it true? Is what I am pursuing in life the truth of what God has put me on this earth to do? And sometimes, or often all the time, it requires sacrifice. It requires working through the pain and all the machinations of life and not keep looking back to the past, being bogged down and losing what the ultimate goal is. Never, ever, any of us, compromise that spark within us. Nathan and Michael and all of us, we are all being pursued not by competition, pursued not by human adulation or material wants. Every single one of us in this life, sitting here today, we are being pursued by God. And sometimes we run away, sometimes we get off course. But we know that when God is with us, anything is possible. The gospel reading, it's all about not looking back, not being blind to where God is in our life. We've all experienced it at moments in our life. There's no more uncomfortable, scary feeling than not being able to see. And in this beautiful gospel reading, Jesus is really talking about the spiritual sight. So how do we find it? By way of a story, I'm sure you guys remember this, but a few years ago, made the decision when Father Francis was here to move from the noisiness of Ventura Boulevard and the rectory to the quiet place on Serenia in the parish house. And it was a beautiful, wonderful, quiet sort of little residence that Father Francis, who was out of control, but I taught him meditation. No, I'm just kidding. But he was so peaceful, and it was a nice place. Till one day, and I shared this story with you, maybe remember, I came home one day after 2 funerals, and it was a stressful day. Usually Blue was waiting for me at the door, but I opened the door, and 2 burglars had broken in and ransacked the entire place, turned everything upside down. It was a disruption of the peacefulness of the home. And as we put everything back together, Father Francis, it really disturbed him. He was really nervous. Someone into his private place disrupted everything. Fast forward a few days, I come home down Serenia, and what do I see in the front yard? A dozen of these planted in the front yard, secured by ADT. I asked myself, I didn't order security. Maybe Father Francis did. So I asked Father Francis, did you order this security for our house? He said, no. I just found these signs on the internet. And I put them in the yard hoping that it would scare the burglars away. Father Francis, nice try, but it doesn't work. My dear friends, in our first reading today from Samuel, such a beautiful message. God says to Samuel, to Jesse, to David, The world views it by appearances. Put a sign out. It's all okay. But it doesn't really do anything. But God, he goes beyond the sign, beyond the superficial. And what does he say? God reads your heart. And it's in that inner depths of your being and your soul. Burglars may want to come and steal your peace, steal your tranquility. But when we have Christ in the center of our heart, when God is the true voice of us running the race, there's nothing to fear. And looking deep into the soul and into the heart, nobody can steal what belongs to God. And that is our spiritual heart and our soul. So friends, wherever you are on your spiritual race of life, for these next few weeks before Easter, stop looking back. Keep your eye fixed on Jesus, and all of us will finish the race. Amen?